Is that how you do it?
It is. It's funny. I feel like every time I'm about ready to say welcome, like we're chuckling at something just random.
Because I always do something right before we get started that makes you laugh.
That's true. Hey, welcome everybody. Merry Christmas and welcome to Real Estate Makes Us Drink. Brian Quinlan from Daniels Real Estate.
Brad Nickham from Nest Mortgage Group.
Where's your holiday, Brad?
You know, Santa went south for this season, so I got my palm trees on, and I like blue.
Okay.
And I got some green on for Christmas, but I'm not a winter guy.
Okay.
And if I was Santa Claus, I would deliver everything on your least favorite holiday, 4th of July.
There you go. Yeah, not my least favorite holiday, just not as excited as everybody else.
So you like 4th of July more than Hanukkah? You don't do
That's
Hanukkah.
not my religion, so I don't celebrate Hanukkah. You know, being Catholic, Christmas is my holiday. So there you go. What are we doing?
Well, just since it is Hanukkah, we're
going to light a candle.
We'll go ahead and light a candle.
That's fantastic. Brad, while you didn't dress up for the occasion, I do appreciate the decor here in Brad and Tony's bar. Is that what it is?
Brad and Tony's Party Barn. You were close.
Brad and Tony's Party Barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Is this your doing or is this your wife's?
Heavens, no, I don't do anything nice or aesthetically pleasing besides add alcohol to the bar. But yeah, she did all the thing around the stairs, and she loves to decorate for each holiday.
I bet.
Really. So yeah.
Good for her. All right, well, you know what? Cheers, brother.
Cheers to you.
What are you drinking today, my man?
Man, I'm drinking your Christmas present.
Ooh, yeah.
Fortune's Fool. And there's a whole story behind this. It's friends of his, right?
Correct. Friend of mine, yes, but college buddy of my wife.
There you go. It's really good. I do know that you can purchase it at the Wine and Cheese Shop in Wabash, Indiana, because I seen it on the shelf and I almost bought it when I was up there last time. But I'm sure they have it at other places as well.
Actually, we got it at Total Wine. So,
there you
go. I've also purchased it at Big Red, I believe it was.
Right on.
So yeah, there are definitely places here around town. Fortune's Fool is a whiskey, and
excellent.
How do we describe that? Dry? Is it a dry?
It's a rye.
Rye, that's the one I was looking for.
It's a rye whiskey.
Rye whiskey. So there you go. Check it out at your local liquor store. So thanks for promoting that. I appreciate it. So I am also drinking local today. This is Good Vibrations from Black Dog Brewing Company.
Where's that at?
That is in Mooresville, Indiana.
Mooresville has their own brewery?
It does, yeah. It's right there on 67 as you go south from 465. And I'm a fan.
That's awesome.
Good one. I've had a few of their beers and been generally pretty happy with all of them.
What's it most taste like?
Well, you know, being a light beer guy, it is not too far off, honestly, from Blue Moon, which is one of my favorites. As long as it's on draft, that's one of my favorites.
I miss beer.
I know.
Since I can't drink beer, and I would go to these when all these craft beer things were really starting up around here, and I would go and they'd bring out a beer, and I was like, you got one tastes like Coors Light, and they'd just get mad at me, you know. They're like, well, this one, you know, tastes like chocolate, peanut butter, bananas, you know. It was like
that's been my problem because, you know, when I turned 21, my beer taste was very minimal.
Old Milwaukee.
I mean, it was Coors Light, it was Miller Lite, and that was probably it.
Yeah.
So I'd go to a restaurant or a bar and look on the menu, and that's not there, and like, all right, well, I'd like a beer, but I don't know. Here's what I like Coors Light, and I swear you're just getting the judgmental look from the server at that point.
The beer snobs.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So you know, they'd bring me something. And you know, my beer taste has definitely evolved, and I've gotten more. I will say more varied in what it is that I drink. All very similar though, light beers, you know, golden pilsners, those kind of things. But you know, I'm trying a bunch of varieties. That I know I don't like IPAs.
Yes, I never liked the IPAs, and my favorite beer I miss is Sol. It's a Mexican beer.
I think I've had that.
It has the sun on it, Sol, and it's a great beer. It has really very little beer flavor, I guess, is what all my beer people tell me. But you know, and Corona or Coors Light. Yeah. The last thing I had in the keg before I had to stop drinking beer was the Corona Premier.
See, I'm not a Corona fan.
Corona Premier though, that's a good beer.
Well,
Only got.
Gentlemen, if it has Corona in it, I'm not drinking.
You don't like it, huh?
No.
How about that? Oh, there you go. That's part of our real estate because the title here is Real Estate Makes Us Drink, and we can talk about houses and mortgage rates and carry on conversations with very fluent alcoholics.
That's correct. We have quite a diverse audience. Yeah. And to be honest, some of those realtors or lenders who do venture onto our podcast, they're probably drunk when they're watching this anyway. So if
they're not, they're at least drinking.
Right. So we're hitting a diverse group. That's for sure.
Very diverse, yes. Yep.
So it being the holiday season, this is our Christmas episode. So I do, want to say that I've really enjoyed doing this with you in the multiple episodes that we've done. And so we're going to come back with season 2 in January. We're going to take a little time off for the holidays.
I didn't want to take
we do still have one more episode to go for this season, but then we're going to take a little break, and because I'm traveling. And
you're traveling?
I know that you are fine doing this from Cabo.
I just want to do it every day. This is so fun.
I don't know that I have that much to say every day. That's my problem.
Oh, we could come up with something.
Well, that's true. Then it becomes the Real Estate Makes Us Drink and Bullshit podcast.
Yeah, well, we maybe just talk a lot.
That changes our logo, I think. And if you add and bullshit.
You could just use a poop emoji.
Maybe we should. Anyways.
Maybe anyway.
So with Christmas here, what do you guys do for Christmas? I know your kids are gone, so
they all come home for Christmas. So we this year we're having it here at the house. So my mom and family are coming down and
from Wabash?
From Wabash, Indiana, yep. And then my daughter and her boyfriend are going to visit his parents, and then they'll be here. Not sure of the day because I'm not the person in charge.
That's correct.
Booking the things. I'm just told where and when.
Right.
My son Logan will be up from Sevierville, Tennessee, because Dollywood closes at the end of the year, so he'll go back and finish until the New Year's.
So Dollywood, your son is in charge of some sort of tech or security or something.
No, he's like so he started off just working rides, and running rides, and now he's like over like a third of the park and those people that run those rides, and he runs rides too when someone doesn't come to work, which is a common thing in all businesses. Yeah. People don't like to come to work anymore, but so I think he's got 22 or 24 people that he oversees and works. If there's one thing he got from me, he works a lot.
Okay.
He's one of those guys that are open to close almost every day of the week, and that's 8 in the morning and close at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's long.
Works a lot of hours, but he loves
probably on his feet all the time.
All the time, yeah. Unless he's on a ride. But you got to understand this. My son Logan loved roller coasters. Like his toys as a kid were building roller coasters.
Really?
His favorite video game was this roller coaster tycoon where you built amusement parks.
Uh-huh.
And he would spend days on that thing. So to know that now he took this thing that his whole childhood was like wrapped around roller coasters, and now he works at an amusement park. Is
that's
pretty
really
awesome.
Cool.
And like when he gets a day off, you know what he did?
Went back and
went to Disney World. So they went to Disney for a couple of days and to the other one. Universal, there you go. I wanted to say Independence. I don't know why.
Can I assume that's considered a work trip because he's kind of researching?
No, he's just going to have fun.
Okay, good for him.
He'll be like, well, are you coming at home, for this holiday? No, we're going to Holiday World.
Oh,
because he wants to ride roller coasters. So he gets to do what he loves, and it's awesome. And he works really hard. I'm really proud of him.
That's great.
And then Blake and Pam, which live just on the north side of Indianapolis, they'll be off work too, so they'll come in, hang out, and we'll have all the dogs too.
Ah, the dogs.
So a couple of Newfoundlands and a little pit bull.
I just picture one of my least favorite Christmas movies, that being A Christmas Story, and the dogs just running through the house, eating the turkey, and just ruining Christmas, basically.
Our dogs don't do that very much. The Newfies are kind of tired. And Belle just lays around. She gets a little excited, but it'll be fun. So be right here in the barn and
in the barn.
I said like I'm from Minnesota or something.
You did. In the barn. Really did get kind of a northern accent out of there.
I don't even know where that came from. I don't want to.
Well, we are actually going to be home for Christmas, which is not normal for us.
So you're not traveling, and we could do another day?
Easy. So I grew up in Illinois, and my sister still lives there with her family. My brother moved to Minnesota with his family.
Oh,
My
Minnesota.
parents moved to Florida.
Smart.
And so we are all separate. So
Gotcha.
generally, it's my parents will travel to someone's house
Right.
for the holidays, and my sister and I are only 3 hours apart. So if my parents come here or they go to her house, we will travel to be together for that. Minnesota is a whole
What part of Illinois?
You know, those of us from Illinois know you don't say the S. So I'm going to let that slide once. Anyway,
I did it on purpose.
I know. South suburb of Chicago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
New Lenox, as a matter of fact. Not where I grew up, but that's where she lives.
That's where she lives. But where'd you grow up at in Illinois?
Orland Park, Illinois.
So is that close to Chicago too?
Again, like 25 miles southwest.
Okay. Yeah.
So, anyways, we are all doing a huge family trip to visit my parents for New Year's. So that whole first week of January, we'll be down in Florida and potentially going to Universal Studios.
What part of Florida?
My parents live in the Orlando-ish area.
Gotcha.
It's about a 40-minute drive to Disney and Orlando for them.
You should have Matt come visit you from St. Augustine.
I don't know, Matt.
Yeah, you do. Matt, my loan partner.
Matt.
That does all the back-end loans, makes them go real smooth. Matt,
sure.
You talked on the phone.
Hi, Matt.
He's watching.
I don't know that I've talked to him on the phone. I only deal with you.
No, Matt would be the one that says, "Hey, I need these FHA documents signed."
Well, we've probably conversed by email.
Yeah. Well, he lives in St. Augustine.
Well, how about that? I love St. Augustine.
It's a beautiful town.
I'm a fan. So we'll be down there for the first week of January, which means we are home, and we'll have my 2 kids and their significant others joining us for Christmas.
That's awesome.
And looking forward to just kind of chilling.
Oh, and some summertime weather. See, here you're giving me a hard time about not liking Christmas, and you're going to run to where it's warm. Yeah,
I am.
Smart. So smart.
In 2020, we did a 1-week trip to Orlando, stayed with my parents for the week of Christmas, and we went to all 4 of the Disney parks that week. On Christmas Day, we were at the Magic Kingdom, and it snowed. When we got there in the morning, it was the coldest Christmas day
real snow
on record.
Wow. I'd ask my money back.
The predicted temperature for later in the day was going to be in the 50s, so we were prepared with sweatshirts. But waking up and seeing snow on the ground, being from Indiana, we came prepared. So we had hats and gloves, but we're good. And it quickly warmed up. It wasn't the end of the world.
Prepared is not what I would have used for my description of if I woke up in Florida and seen snow.
There was a verbal protest, but it didn't really go anywhere. So we went in. My daughter wound up buying this Mickey Mouse jacket
for $22,000.
She was not ready for the weather, and so we're like, well, that's what you want to buy.
That's awesome.
So that was interesting and still a good time. But yeah, to say that I was at Disney World and it had snowed is
I pictured like
unique.
Fake Magic Kingdom snow.
No, this is the real deal. Yeah.
The best thing that I can tell you about snow is when Tony and I took the motorhome and we spent the month of January out in Phoenix, Arizona. And on the drive into Phoenix, we're in the mountains, and you come down out of the mountains, and the snow was, deep up in the mountains.
Sure.
Like, on the side of the road, it was like half the height of the motorhome. And when we got down to our place in the park where we parked at, it was 80 degrees, but you could see the snow.
Yep.
And I said, that snow is okay. Like, it's warm, and that up there looks pretty.
Yep.
When I see it on my driveway, I never go, oh, that's so beautiful. I'm like, ah. And I do have some eggnog moonshine if you want to get lit up later.
I don't like eggnog. Yeah.
Okay. It's the only thing about Christmas I like.
Rather disgusting.
Yeah, I understand.
So there's that. My dad had a somewhat tradition. We would always go to midnight mass growing up. Okay. And my dad was in the church choir. It was a very big deal. And we always enjoyed going to listen to the choir sing. My dad was usually one of the people kind of standing out because he sometimes had a solo or whatever. He's a good singer.
Awesome.
But that, of course, meant we had to get there at 10:30 for midnight mass. So that was not cool. And when you're younger, you're just falling asleep in the pew. Anyway, so his deal was when we got home from midnight mass, so now it's like 1:30 in the morning because it's always longer.
Are you saying the Catholics go long on stuff?
Yep. We opened Christmas presents.
Right, because Santa already came.
Exactly, like 2 in the morning. And my dad would always turn on a record of Christmas songs, and then he'd go into the fridge, grab some eggnog, pour himself a glass of eggnog, and then he was the passer-outer of presents. So we all were just sitting around waiting for him to get there to pass out presents to us, and then we'd open presents. But
so did you leave out cookies and milk and stuff before you went to Mass?
Well, of course.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Did you have a fireplace?
Yep.
Don't you wonder, like people that don't have fireplaces, like what do their parents tell them on how Santa? Like he's also a cat burglar.
Exactly.
Like, do you leave a window unlocked so they know?
Actually, my kids had a.
Oh, did you not have a fireplace?
No, in the first house.
So you had to tell a story.
Yeah, in the first house, when Alex, from birth to age 2, or we would go visit, like, the house my parents were living in when my kids were little didn't have a fireplace.
Gotcha.
And any relatives on Stephanie's side did not have fireplaces that I could recall, except for her grandparents did. But our second house had a gas fireplace, but not with a chimney, right? Anyway, so we had a key from Hallmark that had Santa on it, and it was Santa's magic key.
Ah.
So that would be left out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at Christmas. So
we had a fireplace, but we always had a fire.
Oh, well.
So, but the whole thing was magic anyway, right?
Absolutely.
So, I guess it all.
Call it magic of Christmas for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, switching to.
We kind of got a gift today.
We did. So, speaking of gifts, the Fed had an announcement of information today, and so.
They did. And
what do you got?
They actually said what we thought they'd say.
Yeah.
Inflation has come down a little bit, not as far as what we all had hoped, but we're at like 3.2% on core year, or 3.1% on core year over year, with their target goal of being 2, right? So inflation's come down, and unemployment, we got kind of a lie for unemployment report on Friday. But if you look at how they do those today, if you watch, they'll put out this report and they'll say 199,000 new jobs, and that's the one that hits the news. And then they do revisions every time, right, a few weeks later, and those revisions never hit the news. And the last revisions have really cut it down to where the new jobs, I think, really, instead of 199,000, is more like 48,000 based on the last revision. So, and you think unemployment's a bad thing, but not in the economy. When you're looking at interest rates, and what they're trying to accomplish is to slow down the economy.
Right.
And even in Fed Chair Powell's speech afterwards, and after the meeting, he comes out and talks for a couple hours.
A little Q&A.
Yeah, he does a little speech first, kind of tells what the consensus of the Fed group is, and he never speaks to what another Fed governor said. So they don't ever talk against each other, even though they may have really opposing views. He never takes a side or
United front.
Correct. And they talked about the fact that he does believe that we'll see 4.1% of unemployment going into the first of the year. And you think of all the holiday jobs that are going to end. So when you think of when you have 199,000 new jobs in November, well, it could be just FedEx,
right?
And UPS
or any of the stores that are still open in the mall.
Exactly, those 4. So when you look at that change, and you see that the economy truly is slowing down, well, that's a sign that interest rates are truly going to come down. And a couple of things that he pointed out today is they do have a chart to kind of start lowering the Fed fund rate at potentially 3 reduces in the Fed fund rate in 2024.
Okay.
Probably starting around June.
I know that's been very popular news in the last week or two that 2024 was going to be lower, but not a huge drop.
And the Fed fund rate doesn't control 30-year fixed interest rates, right. But what it does do is it gives a sign to the Treasury, the bond market, that inflation's slowing, and that lets all those bond rates come down. It drops the 10-year Treasury, and that drives interest rates down. Because whatever the 10-year Treasury is, interest rates right now are typically about 30 basis points higher, right? So if the 10-year Treasury is at 4.2, interest rates are at 7.2. Okay, so it's kind of been where it's at. I guess I said 30. It's really 300 basis points by myself.
It's fine.
I'm not really good at math, even though I'm in the mortgage business. I keep a calculator. But at any rate, that's always a good spread. And today was a big drop in the Fed fund rate. or I'm sorry, in the 10-year Treasury, because they said, hey, we're probably going to decrease, the Fed fund rate 3 times in 24, potentially 3 times in 25, and potentially 3 times in 26. And if you think about their goal rate being 2% for core, and we're at 3, that doesn't mean they're going to wait till they hit 2% to lower the rate, right? When you look at what they've done with the Fed fund rate and quantitative tightening, they've done that to slow inflation, but they can't slow it too much, right? So they can't utilize past data and wait till they hit 2% to lower, because the economy will slow too much. So even though some people think that's going to happen around March, that they'll lower the Fed fund rate of their first quarter, some people are saying June. He didn't give an answer. He said it's going to be about the data. So if we see a 3.0, for our next CPI report, or maybe a 2.9, and that's going to show that it slowed another big chunk, then that may drive them to lower the Fed fund rate a little bit earlier. But another piece that's really important, not just the lowering the rate, is the quantitative tightening, which quantitative tightening means they are no longer buying bonds and they're selling those bonds off, right? So right now they're managing around $3 trillion in bonds. And as he was talking, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, he's talking about trillions, managing trillions. A lot of Americans that I pull credit for have trouble managing a single comma in their checking account.
Right.
Now that comma moves, right? It's the second comma that makes things really important. But so when you think about what those potentials are, if they stop selling off so much of their bonds, which during COVID, they were buying billions of dollars in mortgages, in some cases a day.
Wow.
But definitely in a week. So that's how they ended up with $3 trillion of managed portfolio of bonds. So they've been selling those off. So even though you've seen inflation come down, and there's been these big points we think rates are going to drop, they don't, because they're still selling off all these bonds, and it's all about supply and demand. That's keeping those yields high, keeps rates high. So hopefully we do see interest rates start to slide into the 6s on a regular basis by maybe midsummer.
I know that's kind of what's anticipated,
that's the anticipated
around mid-year.
Number.
And again, use the word slide. It will not be a huge drop.
No, you don't wake up and rates don't move either way fast.
No.
Rates move like gas prices. And I've said this for years because it's really, really true. Gas prices will go up in pretty good chunks.
Yeah.
But they come down very slowly. And interest rates do the same thing. When you have a market that's under this huge inflation, and we know all of these things could happen that are bad, interest rates jump quickly. And if you remember how fast, we went from 3% to 6% in probably 6 months.
Yeah.
That was a huge jump in interest rates, and it kind of threw the brakes on a lot of things. Although a lot of people are still buying houses.
Of course.
But so they're going to slowly slide down. So what it's going to do is give you the opportunity to still purchase that home, still maybe have a little better payment than what it would have been in October when we were in the 8s, and know that it's going to take months and months and months before you drop to a level that you potentially could refinance, but that's still there. And don't anticipate interest rates being, at 3%. Even Fed Chairman Powell said, we're never anticipating those kind of rates again, because there's not a pandemic or an economy stopping program that's going to make rates fall that low. And if it wasn't pandemic related, and it just was the economy that got so bad that they had to go back to quantitative easing, buying mortgages, and lowering the Fed fund rate to 0, no one would have a job to buy a house anyway. So you got to think about the side of, do you want interest rates to be 3%, or do you want a job? Because it really is a big thing, So
you called me the other day and told me about conforming loan limits, which in the real estate world is important because for certain loan types, it lets the customers know what's the maximum amount that loan would go. So tell us about that.
Okay, so conventional loans, that's your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans that we all talk about. That's your 3% down for a first-time home buyer, 5% down for a second-time home buyer. You don't have to put down 20% to buy a house.
No, you do not.
You just have your PMI, which is not a bad thing, and it's very inexpensive. At any rate,
we've talked about that before.
Oh yeah, conventional loan. It used to be $726,200 through 2020. 3, and then 2024 it's going up to $766,750.
And does that start January 1st?
Started already.
Oh,
so,
good, okay.
So when you think about when Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac say, delivery to them January 1, that's a loan that's closed in November.
Yeah, okay.
So they just released the number though, so we couldn't write them too much earlier. The important thing to think about there is when you talk about housing prices, and there's still people that we talk to on a regular basis that think there's a housing crash coming. So that's the advice that Ice Maker would give you, because it doesn't know anything about real estate.
There was an article I read today that they surveyed 2,000 consumers, and 44% of them believe that in 2024 there will be a housing market crash.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Well, I'm uneducated in a lot of areas, right? So if you ask me about something not mortgage related, I'm probably going to come off maybe uneducated.
There you go.
Right. So if you know what's going on in this market and you follow it, you'll know there's no housing crash coming up. And if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac thought there was, and they thought housing prices were going to go backwards, or if housing prices were already going backwards, they would not have raised the conforming loan limit, because it's based off of prices of homes that are selling in each area. Now, our loan limit is this $766,000, but the loan limit in California, I don't have memorized, because that's a high limit, and that's probably a 1.2 something,
sure.
Right? So higher price markets have higher limits.
So check your local listings.
Check your local listings, right? There's 4 brackets, right? So, but when you look at that in Indiana, I got in this business in 1997, and in 1997, the conventional loan limit was $216,000.
So in 26 years, it has gone from 216
to 766.
That's a pretty sizable jump in 26 years.
So is your house, though.
True.
And then the other one that's amazing is FHA. They changed their limit too. So FHA doesn't have a limit on how big of a house you can buy or of how much money you make, but they do have a loan limit, $498,000 something. I didn't write it down because I forgot we were going to talk about this.
That's okay.
So I don't have it memorized. FHAs, you don't hit that loan limit a lot, but went up from like 472, so a good jump. But if you think about FHA is supposed to be fitting in what's called the median home price. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Hamilton County, I believe it's 485 right now.
Yeah, I haven't looked recently.
It's the highest county in our area.
There you go.
But so $492,000 is an FHA loan. That's a high number. And in 1997, when I got in this business, it was $83,017. Wow. So if you were buying a house and your loan amount was over $83,000, you could not go FHA.
Wow.
That's amazing. But it really goes to the fact that even though real estate had a rocky time in 1990 or 2008, 2009, and 2010, although if you look at what true housing prices did, if you strip out foreclosures, values remain pretty strong. At least at flat, not backwards. So if you bought a house, let's say in 1997, which I did.
Almost. I bought my first in 98.
I bought this house in 1997 for $139,000.
How many square feet was the house before?
It was 17 or 1,800 square feet before we did the addition. And right before we did the addition, we were right around a $300,000 appraised value.
And okay, so you paid how much? $139?
$139
for 1,700 square feet. Mm-hmm. My first house purchased in 98 was, I believe, a 1,200 square foot, and I think we paid like $97,000 for it or something like that.
There's some houses that are just north of here that Matt Braun lived in, and Matt and I were talking about, because we just closed a loan in that neighborhood. He bought the house for like $86,000 in I think 98 or 99. And those are selling on average for like $225 to $255.
Yeah.
And they're 1,200 square foot. Probably old MI homes, or one of the older true first like vinyl villages in our area. And it's still, they're nice homes,
Yeah.
But you can't buy that anymore. So if you're sitting around thinking, gosh, I want to wait to buy a house, well, why don't you wait till the $300,000 house is $400,000,
right?
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
To it.
Prices don't
go backwards. That's right.
Is there the possibility to negotiate a lower price than what's being asked? Absolutely.
Has the client maybe listed their house above market value?
Absolutely possible.
And that one's going to get reduced in price when it doesn't sell. And then people are like, oh, prices are going down.
Nope, that's not what that means. Yeah, so it is interesting to kind of look at the mindset of people who, like you said, are waiting for home prices to come down and kind of give them a little shake. That's not going to happen.
Let me give you one more shake before the end of this one. So let's say interest rates do come down, and we've got a growing population of 33-year-olds, and we don't have a lot of housing inventory. And there's a lot of people that have been saying, I just want to wait till rates come down. And we drop from 8 to 6.5. And people jump in this market to buy a house. If you're a 3% down person that needs closing costs paid, you need to buy a house now. If you're an FHA borrower, because maybe your credit score has a few dents in it, you need to buy a house now. If you're a 20% down person with an extra $50,000 that you're going to pay over list and you're going to buy the house that you want and you're just going to wait, you spend it, because that's what's going to happen when everybody jumps back in this market. And I'm not the only one saying it. Barbara Cochran was on TV just the other morning on Good Morning America explaining, look, what happens when people jump back in the market is the same thing we've seen happening in 21. It's going to be 25 people writing an offer on the same house, and you're not getting the seller to pay your closing costs and putting down 3%. You're not getting it at list price. And if interest rates fall any more than 6.5%, Katie, bar the door. It's going to be very tough to win a house in a lot of markets. And when we're talking about the Indianapolis market, it's already hard in Fishers, Carmel, Zionsville, and Westfield. I mean, forget it if you're going to go in there thinking you're going to get a house for a great price.
I'll add Center Grove, Avon, New Pal.
Plainfield. Plainfield's still having it too.
Absolutely.
So if you think about it, if you're waiting, what you're waiting for is you're waiting to fight to win that house, just like you were waiting in 1986 outside of Toys R Us trying to get the Tickle Me Elmo is what I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah. I have a few clients right now that have just basically said, oh, we're going to wait till after the holidays.
Yeah.
And the family person in me understands that.
Totally.
Also understand the holidays is like 4 days. You got Christmas Eve.
It feels like 400
right,
sometimes.
It does. You got Christmas Eve, you got Christmas Day. We'll even give you the day after Christmas, called Boxing Day in Canada for those of you scoring at home. Then you got...
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
They box the day after?
I truly don't even know what it means, but it's literally called Boxing Day, December 26th in Canada. Look
Tyson Haynes, one of the greatest singers in Nashville from Canada. Please comment on what that means.
That would be great. We'll have to send it to him. Then you have, New Year's Eve. May or may not be a holiday, but the night certainly is. But actually, it'll be a Sunday, so a lot of people may not be working. Then you got New Year's Day.
Yeah, I call that recovery day.
Then many people are back to work on January 2nd. So what are we talking? 5 days?
5 days.
So we don't have to take a 3-week break waiting for the holidays to pass. Yes, people do have parties here and there. I get that. But that's, again, not generally an all-day party.
Your house is decorated, so it's a great time to show it.
A great time. So, I will say it doesn't have to wait. And getting out there now, here during the holiday time period, there's less competition because there are so many people waiting until after the holidays. So it does give you more of an opportunity. And those who have their house for sale during the holidays want to sell it.
They want to move.
They know, too, that people aren't coming out to look. But if their house is still for sale, they got to move. So
it's a motivated seller.
It absolutely is. So
and do it before the weather turns crap too. I mean, we've got some above normal temperatures.
Yeah, we do.
Who wants to go look at homes when there's 2 foot of snow and it's 30 below zero?
This past weekend on Saturday, I went out with a client to look at houses, and it was like 55, 60 degrees. And I said, it's the first time I'd met him. I said, I'd like to thank you for scheduling this on a day in beautiful weather.
Yeah, exactly.
We went out the next day with 30 degrees. I was like, this is not good.
No, you blew it. You should have bought the day before.
I know, we should have. But anyway.
I need to get them pre-approved.
There you go. All right, Brad. Well, that'll wrap up the Christmas episode.
I hope you have a super Merry Christmas.
Man, I hope you do as well. And cheers. And thanks again for hosting this every week. Always appreciated. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Leave us a comment if you have anything to say. comments are always appreciated. And of course, if you need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, reach out to me, reach out to Brad. We will get you hooked up. Thanks and Merry Christmas.
One PS, since you already said the whole goodbye, just a little Christmas thing to end on. How was Bad Santa?
Yeah, so I did watch Bad Santa after the last episode recommendation from Brad, and I have to say it was more entertaining than I thought it would be. Now, I watched it by myself. Had I watched it with my wife, it would not have been the same because her bad attitude about that movie would have totally come out, and there's nothing against my wife. I totally appreciate the bad attitude.
It's a very vulgar movie.
It is, and every line has multiple curse words in it. I don't know how it ever appears on network TV, except that they've kind of relaxed some of those rules nowadays, but wholly inappropriate in a lot of ways, but entertaining. So thanks for the recommendation.
Nothing better than a movie that tells you you ain't going to shit right for a week.
There you go. Thanks for watching.